Sean, good morning. It's been a very busy week for Nebraska in recruiting. Commitments from Luke Sorensen, Jamal Rule, and also Danny Odom. Is any of those a surprise to you at all this week, Sean, or not?
Well, I think Danny Odom, just battling out. They beat a lot of good teams, Oklahoma, Ohio State. He's, I believe, one of the highest ranked defensive backs Nebraska signed in a corner in a number of years. So that was a big win. Jamal Rule, obviously, they were kind of zoned in on two running backs, Brian Bonner, Jamal Rule.
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, you would think that Bonner was the guy that was higher because he's ranked higher. But they preferred Rule, was my read on that, and they got their running back. But this is kind of what we thought would happen. This slower pace because of the official visits not starting until June, and they're looking to be 12 to 15-ish commits, and that they should be in the double digits here pretty quickly. So I think things are on track. It's just been a different pace than a lot of recruiting fans for Nebraska have probably been used to following as far as how the number of commits have flowed in this June.
It seems like it's really hard it's hard to get a kid that really moves the needle anymore, because Odom you would think would, but it didn't seem to cause a lot of excitement for fans. Now, Sean, is there anybody out there that you would say that'll move the needle? If they get player X, that will move the needle.
Gosh, locally, Darian Jones would be one just because he's a local guy. There's not very many of them, but it's a battle with Nebraska and Iowa, and there's some RPMs, recruit predictions in on 3 for Iowa right now. So you don't know where that's going, but on the Red Sea Scrolls last night, there were people that said we've spoken to the Jones family, and they laughed that there is no decision made yet. Like, they have no idea where it's so. That, I think that one, just because it is a high profile local guy and there's so few of them. But I think you start with key positions like quarterback. And Dayton Raiola is a good quarterback for a good high school team, but he doesn't go out to a lot of camps. He doesn't do 7-on-7, so he doesn't have a lot of rankings clout because that's not a priority for the Raiolas. Their priority is more to develop for the season and train and do things. And so, they don't really care about being seen by the recruiting guys. So, I think his ranking has probably suffered a little bit because he hasn't really made himself to be seen. So it is unique in that sense. But Valden Sonye, the defensive lineman, he'd probably be one that, when you look at high profile guys, he would definitely get my attention if they were able to win that battle with Georgia and Florida and some of the teams that they're up against, Oklahoma, Ohio State. He's got everybody you can really name at this point.
Okay, Sean, new play-by-play voice for Husker football. You've been talking about this. You wrote about it, a week ago. Kyle Crooks. Kyle Crooks comes from Florida. You have heard his call. What kind of fit are we looking at here? What do you think of Kyle Crooks? What's your first impressions?
Well, I listened to his interview too on Sports Nightly. We're going to hear from him on our show as well today. Prepares very well. First of all, when you just listen to him last night, he was talking about, he wasn't a play-by-play guy for Florida football, but he did obviously all the other sports, but he would prepare for every Florida game like he was calling it for football, and he would do spot charts and game prep just to stay sharp as a football guy. He grew up in the New Jersey area. We have one thing in common. He listened to Mike and the Mad Dog, the famous sports talk radio show, religiously. And I listened to that when I lived on the East Coast for a summer. I listened to that every single day. And so he's a junkie. He follows it hard. Ian Eagle is his real mentor. The NBC broadcaster that does Big Ten football games. And Ian Eagle was one of the real advocates I know that Troy Dannon talked to before they made this hire and looked at hundreds of applicants. And I think Troy Dannon wants someone that's going to be here a long time. He's on the younger end. But when you think about it, Pavelka was on the young end when he started. Bremser was on the young end. I think we have this, it's got to be an older guy, but I think all the greats that have come through Nebraska, they were young when they got this job. And I think that's what Dannon probably wants here. He wants a guy that they can really brand and that's going to do this job for a long, long time.
So my HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan. Sean, we saw a list today from CBS Sports that put Nebraska's best case and worst case scenario for the season. It said best case, 11-1 with that one win coming the loss at Penn State. So it'll be 10-0 before that, and then worst case at 5-7. Which is Nebraska closer to right now?
I sure hope it's not 5-7.
Well,
but I mean, look, I would hate to say 11 because that's hard to do. But look, it's not out of the question either. I mean, Penn State's the one game on this schedule where they're going to be a dog, probably a double-digit dog. Every other game, if they're going to be a dog, it's not going to be by very many points, under a touchdown, maybe a touchdown at the most. So they're not that far off. They've got a great schedule draw, at least today. We say that today because last year we said that, and we didn't know Illinois and Indiana were going to be really, really good teams last year that, ended up, making the playoff and the other one winning the Citrus Bowl. So it's hard to gauge some of these teams like Michigan State and Maryland and UCLA, Northwestern. You don't really know until you know on some of these Big Ten programs what kind of teams they're going to have. And even Michigan, is this going to be a 9-win Michigan team or, more like a 7-win Michigan team? It's hard to make that decision. And I would put USC in that category too. I mean, they've got just an influx of cash right now, and they've bought a bunch of players from the portal to help their defense. Lincoln Riley, and you don't know what that team is going to be like when they come to Memorial Stadium in November.
Which is that the team you'd pick? You were asked this on the chat yesterday on the message board. That is there a team on the schedule that's not getting enough attention that should be concerning?
Well, Cincinnati's another easy one because they are probably a bowl level team. They have pro talent. But I do think Nebraska's got a significant advantage with the crowd in Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, it's going to get loud in there and rowdy. And I think that's going to help Nebraska. It's worth a few points in a game like this as an opener. But yeah, USC is the one that they could end up being a playoff team. I mean, they really could. And I think they're a dark horse playoff team in the conference. I think Penn State and Ohio State and Oregon are the three easy playoff picks today. And I think you have a hard time coming up with who's the fourth playoff team in the Big Ten, because I don't think you can obviously say Wisconsin or Iowa like maybe in years past.
No.
Nebraska could be in that discussion, but you can't really say that objectively. That's why Indiana, it's like, can they do it 2 years in a row? Illinois, maybe. Or I don't think they're going to surprise people, but USC's got the elite talent that they could get up there. I mean, if they get it figured out with Maeva at quarterback and Lincoln Riley and the defensive upgrades they made in the portal, especially on the defensive line, I mean, they added a couple 330-pound nose tackles from the SEC, ACC region. Yeah. I mean, so they could be the team, I think, that surprises people and, makes a run to get that maybe fourth playoff spot.
Sean, I recognize this is just a kind of a perception question, but I just want to pin you down on this. Can we say unequivocally that Nebraska has an appreciable talent edge on Cincinnati?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Well, Cincinnati has nowhere near the NIL budget. Like Cincinnati could not, Cincinnati could not go and get Dane Key and afford him. They could not afford Dylan Raiola. They could not go out and get McCullough and Winery. I mean, that's what you got to look at. Like when it comes to be shopping season, what store are they shopping at? I mean,
No, you're right.
They're not shopping at the same store Nebraska was in the portal.
No.
So they do have a few pros though. I mean, with that said, they got a couple guys that can play on that roster, a quarterback, a tight end, I believe. And, they were a team that didn't make a bowl game last year, but they just don't have the resources at their disposal to upgrade in the off season like a Big Ten team would.
I've heard you say that a couple of times, and we're all still sort of adjusting to this world, but that's a good way to look at it. Where can you shop? When you're judging teams, that's a good way to do it. Who's got the money? Who's got the access to certain players? Cincinnati doesn't have access to players that Clemson does.
Well, even like pre-rev share, I think it's a little different now with rev share in the Big Ten because a lot of teams will have the full money, or they all will. But like even Minnesota pre-rev share, they couldn't shop at the same store as like a lot of the Big Ten. Like, I mean, they took Callahan from Rutgers, or
they lost him to Rutgers. They lost him to Rutgers. Yes,
they took a quarterback from like New Hampshire.
Right.
I mean, like they weren't going after the same kinds of players, but PJ Fleck figured it out. They're always good. They're always competitive. And they figure out ways to win with what they have and, be a competitive Big Ten team. But now with RevShare, everybody's got theoretically the same amount of money to work with. And then it's the NIL. Like, what's the separator? Or can you do with your NIL on top of that?
And it's hard to read that right now, right? Because you don't know what that NIL go is going to be all about, the clearinghouse.
No, and what's the enforcement going to be? Like, how much is the NCAA going to get involved? And because there are teams that are well over their cap right now, and it's going to be, especially a year from now, when the front load money kind of washes away and you have to actually come up with this money legitimately. Front loading is basically people just overspending to get all this done before the July 1 deadline. And well, that's over with now.
Sean, you were rambling around at the Devaney Center yesterday in Mark Manning's camp. What'd that look like? Mark Manning's wrestling camp.
I was, my daughter was at her swim practice, and it's fascinating over there in June because there's just camps going on everywhere. And, John Cook's camps, you go over there and the volleyball players, as you would expect, are rock stars. I mean, there's tables set up for autographs and girls everywhere. Wrestling is on a whole other level. First of all, Coach Bush would appreciate this too. It's an old school, like 1990s camp where everybody stays the night in the dorms all week.
Oh, wow.
And they've got like 1,600
better time.
They've got 1,600 kids staying over, I don't know how many, 2 weeks maybe. I asked Manning how many kids, 1,600 go to the wrestling camps. And fire truck behind me, by the way. Everything's okay, guys. Everything's okay.
Okay, good. You talked to Silver Fox yesterday? You talked to Silver Fox?
I didn't get to see him, but I mean, you go so they had mats set up in the track where the track team practiced, indoor track.
Oh, okay.
And you would have thought it was February. It was like an all-out war.
Wow.
Because you had like in-state schools, like small schools, big schools, out-of-state schools, and they're doing legit wrestle-offs. Like, it's a legit deal.
Whoa.
Where coaches are coaching. I mean, it was awesome.
Whoa. The Silver Fox has got it going, by the way.
Yeah, it's a throw.
Runner-up.
Like a Nebraska wrestling camp is like a throwback to like the camps we grew up going to.
We got to have the Silver Fox on. He's got 7 returning All-Americans in his lineup.
For runner-up team from last year.
Runner-up.
Well,
team.
they're trying to get that transfer, or the kid that's in the Bo. Help me on the last name, but
I don't know who you're talking about.
The top high school recruit in the country is in the portal, and Nebraska is in he's backed out of his commitment to Iowa, and Nebraska is one of the 3 teams. And I know the wrestling people are going to kill me. And I know his first name's Bo, and that's like they could get this guy. They're one of 3 teams he's considering.
Whoa. Well, so let me guess the others.
Oklahoma State.
Right.
No way.
Oh, what a shot.
Penn State's talking to him.
What's the best ones?
But Nebraska's in that mix. See, I'm telling you that the Mangler is rolling right now. It's amazing. In his mid-60s, the 2 people that are really rolling, Ravel and Manning. It's amazing. It's amazing. They've adapted to this new world so well.
Are you taking lessons?
It's aging. They are aging gracefully, really gracefully. We had Rhonda on. She was
great. Yeah.
Sean, good job.
Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Thanks, guys.